Well, hello, am I on? Yeah, am I on? Yeah, I think so.
On.
Good evening and welcome to this week's pub.
No, you wasn't on. You wasn't on, Gal. Gal, sorry,
No,
shut
no,
up.
no.
Right.
It's
Am
not
I on
done.
now? Am I
I
on?
will.
Am I on now?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah?
sorry. Shut up, damn it. Sorry.
Right, okay. Well, good evening and welcome to this week's Pubcast. We're all observing social distancing. What was that?
That was not
Sorry.
me.
What was
Pardon?
Cheeky.
Like a squirrel farted.
that? Do you know what I reckon it might be? I'm going to switch my thing on.
Just try again.
Do you need a reboot?
I'm just going to record. I'll just use the footage from this because I'm having issues. Right, okay.
Whoa!
Right, let's start again. Is everyone ready? Right. Okay.
Ready.
Am I on? Am I on? Yeah. Okay. Right. Good evening and welcome to this week's. But seriously, it's getting hot. Right. Good evening and welcome to this week's photography podcast. We are.
Start again. You want on,
Oh,
get it?
First, no, Mally was on then.
No, I wasn't.
You
Well,
was.
I'm just going to leave it. I'm gonna,
Gary, just
Go. 1, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Mally,
1,
shut up.
go!
Right. Okay. Good evening and welcome to this week's photography podcast. This week, why is everyone laughing?
You sound a bit muffled, mate.
Yeah. Right, that's it.
Should we just go straight?
Yeah. It's just yeah.
You're speaking your mouth.
We were trying to be funny. Didn't work. Well, it worked for us, didn't it? But it didn't work for anyone else. Anyway, good evening. Welcome. Hello. Welcome to this week's photography podcast. We're down to 5 again this week. It's a different one. It's like we've got them on rotation. It's like rotating sick notes. It's like this week it's Jamie's turn. Hopefully he'll be along at some point with a bit of luck, but who knows. But anyway, there's the 5 of us here. Darren's back. How's our week been? How's your week been, Darren?
Yeah, it was good. It was my 30th wedding anniversary last weekend. That's why I couldn't make it, gents. So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just the two of us, just doing nice things, bit of coastal walking. Went to Sandringham, down the woods there, went over to the Fens, a few meals. Yeah, it was nice. So sorry I couldn't join you, but obviously that was far more enjoyable.
Oh, absolutely, without doubt. I can imagine. Looking good there, Mally. How's your week been?
Why has everybody got rid of the face masks?
It's big uns. Look at Mally's big uns.
Yeah, it's been a belter. It's been a belter. Do you want me to digress? Do you want me to say? No, it's
What?
bragging. It's bragging.
No, go on. No, you said
What?
it now. Go on.
I've been interviewed. Been interviewed.
By what? The police? Caught up here.
Normally,
Photo
crime. What? Yeah.
Finally.
Picture of Shrek.
I'm still laughing at that beginning. Best ever. Any road. Go on.
You've been interviewed by?
I got interviewed. Which broken up the week and made me feel like I was actually a photographer for a little while, or video creator. So I got interviewed by Greg Schnell.
Did
Was
you?
good fun, yeah, for his course, his online course. Mainly just because
You know better to do.
Are you cheap content?
I'm cheap.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A cheap alternative for the F4.
Did he just say, here's how you don't do it?
He actually said that I'd raised some points that he didn't have on his course, so I was quite pleased with my little self.
How did it go? How did the interview go? Did you enjoy doing it?
It went really well. It was great fun. He's a gent. He's very professional. And it was all done in one take, of course, Mally style. And then from there on, we had.
He'll have to cut most of it by all accounts.
I think there's quite a bit of it. I was quite nervous. But if someone asks you, and it's not for YouTube, so it's not so I can get, the El Submarino, like some people might think. Oh yeah, I'll do it, Greg. I'll do it, cock. No, it's not going on you. It's no promotion. It's just to be on his course, and because we have a chat now and again, and he's asked me. I'm quite proud, actually.
So you should be, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
What gap in the
Well
market
done.
was he missing? Out of interest.
What kind of market?
Yeah.
It's the Northern Pound. He's missing the Northern Pound.
Tontine Market. You won't know that one, but Tontine Market used to have sparkly stirs. Tontine Market and a little toy shop at corner. Bob, his name was. Thought he was a pedo, but he had a good toy shop.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's good to know.
Gary's trying to work out how to edit that one.
You can leave that
Oh,
in.
just keep that one in.
Bob's all right with it.
So when is it getting released, Mally, this video?
It's on his course. It's just on for.
When's Bob getting
It's
released?
not like YouTube or released.
When's Mally getting released?
Yeah, never. I've been in this room all day.
Have you?
All day.
Is that
and
where you
all
work
week.
as well? Well, same, mate. It's where I work.
Yeah, it's a bit bad, that, isn't it, James? When you work in the same place. And
Yeah,
then,
it is a bit.
do you edit in there as well?
Edit. Yeah, do everything in here, yeah. Do work.
Yeah.
I've got actually dust in here as well. I've got to do some dusting.
Yeah.
Do we all have to clean our own man caves? Is that how
aye.
it works?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
Get them tissues off your desk, James.
When I'm out on a shoot or something, I come home and it's clean. It's brilliant.
Oh, what? And she puts the pictures on the wall. Look at that behind you.
If that happened with me, I'd be fuming because I've got organised chaos here. So it's like if anyone comes in to clean, they'll move it and I'll never find it again.
It's quite funny, isn't it? Because I'm looking at you, Gal, and it looks very sterile.
Oh my
You know,
God.
same with you.
No
And
idea.
this is probably the same with me. Like, all I've got is 2 chairs and a lamp. But in front of me, along here, I've got a coat that's draped over the printer. There's post-it notes everywhere. There's a couple of lenses. Yeah, it's just a bit chaotic on the desk here.
You have no idea, mate. It's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? It's like it looks like lovely and professional, but literally anything outside of this box is just absolute shit everywhere.
Yeah.
I've got bird food down the back here. I've got clothes hanging over there. I've got I've got like cooking stuff sat on the side over here. Absolute mess. Not really. It's perfectly sterile.
We should have all of the obligatory shelf with the lenses, different lenses on the shelf and etc. Different types of cameras which we don't use.
That's true.
Oh, man.
I've got a couple of cameras on tripods for
There you go.
atmosphere.
Well, I can
Photos.
just hold that if that's any good.
Here.
Just do
Yeah.
that like that.
Gun.
This might upset some of the people who watch after all the shit I've give it.
Oh, what's that?
Ooh.
That looks familiar.
Oh,
Look
is
at
that the
that.
Mark II?
Look at that name.
There you go. See.
The
What is
raw
it? Sorry,
files.
what does it
quite
say
nice.
for the people who are not watching? Just
It's a Canon G7X Mark II,
Brilliant cameras.
and it's going to be my street camera. I'm holding it to camera. People listening on the Pubcast, same thing.
Pub.
I went and met James, and we had a fight to the death, and I won. James is actually a ghost at the moment.
I've
nice.
got the Mark One, and I think it's a cracking little camera. That
Oh,
it really is.
so I went out for shoot some stills with it, just because I wanted to go for an exercise, a walk. I didn't want to take the backpack. I just to go for a big stroll and really enjoy myself, you know. I thought I'll take it with me, not expecting anything. Saw some, like a little grouping or whatever you call a trees and silver birch. Took a little shot. Cops, yes. Went through my little dark woods, so bad lighting. Took a few shots. Got up to the top where my lawn tree is, up Belange. Took a few shots. Got home, threw them on computer. Didn't think anything of it. Thought these are not going to be very good, you know. I know it's a 20 megapixel camera, and I tell you what, the raw files off a Canon, are they like that on the 5D as well? They're very forgiving.
Yeah, because
Very
that's
forgiving.
full frame, innit? Did you crank the
no.
ISO up?
I went auto ISO. I actually did a few. So I tried a few things. I went auto ISO, then I moved on to just sticking in at 400, like it was film, and just shutter priority. And then I went from that to full manual, and I give it a good workout, you know, and tried a few different things. And it really shocked me how versatile that camera is, and it's got me thinking about how, don't get me wrong, full frame, go out landscape photography, my Nikon all the time, always. You can tell a difference. You can tell the difference. But for digital and online, I was quite surprised how. But the thing what got me was the raw files. So you guys have not shot Nikon. David has. The raw files, they're quite a solid. It's hard to explain. They're quite a solid file, and you can really push and edit them. But they're not very forgiving. If you go too far with a Nikon RAW file, I find you've got to bring it back a bit. Be careful, you know. On this little boy, on this G7X, the RAW files were really forgiving. I could push them and I could pull them and I could try arty effects that I haven't really tried as much on the Nikon. I was quite surprised. The dynamic range was lacking, and I think that's why it was more forgiving. Because it was more closer to saying, dare I say, like editing a JPEG, if that makes sense. I've gone on there, haven't I?
Okay. Interrupt you. Dave, on your little Sony, have you taken stills on the RX100?
Yeah.
How do you find that compared to your Olympus?
Actually, yeah, it's not dissimilar. They've got the same number of megapixels. But as Mally just said, the issue is always the dynamic range on a 1-inch sensor. But if I was pushed, and you don't have to wind the clock back particularly far for what we've now got in a compact would have been state of the art.
Yeah.
So okay, it doesn't have the flexibility. You haven't got a filter thread and all that sort of thing. But nevertheless. I was quite impressed with it. I did a shoot with it during lockdown when I went out on my bike down at the church in the sea. And so that's the only real acid test I've had with it. But they were usable, as Mally says, usable for online and digital, but I wouldn't print, I don't think.
Depends what you're shooting as well, isn't it? If you're shooting something where it's all about the fine detail, then your full frame, more megapixels is going to come into its own. But if you're shooting something that's about a feeling or a bit of street or something like that, then those cameras are perfectly fine. I went out with a little Fuji X, I can't remember what it's called now. Got it in here somewhere. A little Fuji camera.
XT1.
Well, it's even small. I have no idea. It's a tiny little thing. It's here you go, a Fuji XQ2. Took that out. It says it's a f1.8. It's only a little point and shoot, but I took perfectly good street pictures with that. Dynamic range is amazing.
Did you use that when you went around Cambridge?
Yeah.
Remember you shooting with that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it's it's not the best camera in the world. It doesn't have a viewfinder, so you've got to sort of look at the back of the screen to do everything. But this is something I think we maybe come on to when we're going to talk about confidence and stuff in photography and like that. But I think that using things like that, it's all about the feel more than the fine detail. It's about the feel of the image you're looking for. You can't go out and shoot a landscape with your your Sony or your Canon. What is it, G7X?
G7X.
You can't go and shoot a landscape. We could, but you're not going to get that detail in. But if you go and do something else where it's not about that, they're perfectly fine cameras. As is a phone.
Yeah.
As is a phone.
I think we've said this before about the rough arse end. Sometimes there's a certain touch and feel about an image with that roughness, that kind of disabling amount of detail, like you say, street. I'm really excited and I know when James sold it me, I think he was thinking I'd just use it for vlogging and video. But I'm actually seeing this now as my iPhone, that camera, me sling with me butties and me popping, city.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
No way.
It's
get
funny
round
it's odd that you should say that though. For me, I hated the experience of using the compact. It was handy, it was light. I had no trouble popping it in my pocket to take it to the beach. But taking pictures with it, I absolutely hated it because my main camera is just an extension of my brain and my eyes. I don't have to think about any aspect of using it. And so with this camera, I was constantly questioning the usage of it, and it wasn't an enjoyable experience for that reason. And I don't see myself ever getting to the point where I've got 2 cameras, because my main camera is what I need for whatever I happen to be doing. I've taken it out on the streets of London with a little 17mm f1.8 and had great fun with it. It weighs next to nothing anyway. I suppose I might feel differently if my main camera was full frame, but I didn't enjoy the compact experience at all. And mine has got a viewfinder, but I still hated it.
I think that's the thing.
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. I honestly think that part of the reason Darren doesn't like street photography is because that when he went out the first time he did it, he had a massive, great Canon full frame camera to do it. And there's something really I get what you're saying about understanding your camera, but I use the Sony for my street photography, and I've got used to that, and I can just drop that in my pocket, and then I can just use my mobile phone for a bit of B-roll, or my GoPro, which is so small, get that out. And there's something really nice about just not having to it's exactly like Maddie says, it's a bit quick and dirty. Street photography is quick and dirty. It's not just tweak that, just tweak that, just tweak that. It's like take the shot and just then deal with it afterwards,
It's the spontaneity.
That's a good point, but my mountain photography is quick and dirty. My most of my shots are handheld. My B-roll is just quick, grab the Osmo Pocket and take a bit of B-roll on all full auto, don't care. And so there are comparisons. I think you're right. If you're always on your tripod when you're doing landscapes, it would have a completely different feel to it. But I probably, when I'm allowed into the mountains, as I am now, 50% of my landscape photography is quick and dirty.
Do you know what shocked me about this though, James? And I think, gentlemen, you're already there. You've got a touchscreen.
What such a good condition it is, and how well looked after it was.
Yes, that.
But how expensive it was.
And how cheap it got sold.
The touchscreen technology, I've never had it in all my camera, I've never had this. And for street, you can hold it there, that flippy screen.
You do waste.
And you can just shoot from the hip, as they say.
That's what I meant to say.
You can tap on the screen to focus and follow, and I was like, this tapping on screen shit.
You can do instant shutter as well.
Yeah.
Instant tap, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've stripped it down completely, got rid of all your daffs. I don't know what you was
What's
doing
the author name? What's it say?
Malcolm. I got the camera and it said author, copyright Malcolm.
I'll just leave the lasting memory, that's all.
Anyway, I'll shut up now about it. Just good fun, and I'm going to Liverpool next week for doing my first ever street vlog. Yeah. Watch out for.
Are you going to be on your own?
That should be fun.
Are you with anyone?
Oh, I'm going on my own, and I'm going to torment the life out of the city.
Can I give you some advice? Don't go to the Baltic Triangle bit. It's absolutely pants. I tried to do a vlog from there, and I was like, "Where are the people?" And that was before COVID.
Dirty dogging car parks and back of Chinatown. I'm going to all the places where I can get twatted. You know what I mean, folks.
We don't, but
the grime. I want the grime. I want the reality of Liverpool. So I'm gonna have prostitutes on my next vlog. So you must come and subscribe and watch.
Cool. Right then, moving swiftly on. What else? What else are we going to talk about this week? Mally, you've been watching some documentaries, and you were saying about how they can be quite inspiring, and maybe like we were talking, weren't we? We were going to have a conversation about confidence, about how confidence really affects how you come across as a photographer, and maybe that impacts on how people view you. View your ability by your on-screen persona, if you like, your confidence. And I was watching I watched one of these documentaries you were talking about the street, and the people there, the confidence of them, and not only that, their actual their passion and desire was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, massive inspiration to me as someone who actually, believe it or not, lacks confidence. to see the street. I think it's more an attitude, isn't it? I think, James, you have a certain attitude when you hit the landscape. And I think, actually, all of you have a confidence where you know where you're in place. You know, like when you get there, you know what you like. Darren, your confidence exuded when you was at that shooting the owl. And I think that adds a quality and gives your work strength.
Are you talking about certain confidence in front of people though? Are you street photography?
No, any genre and any form of photography. I think it's self-belief and a belief in what you're doing and taking. I'm not saying you could sell sand to the Arabs, but it's that kind of idea of if you're behind your work and you believe in your work.
Yeah.
Can you bring people on side to believe in you and believe in your work more than if you was a shrew, I don't, here's my pictures,
I think there's a huge, you make a huge point. You're right there.
We understand, Mally.
You make a really valid point, because I think that if you come across as someone who isn't necessarily confident in their own ability, I'm hugely guilty of that at times. I'll often say, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." I'm not, but people who say, "I struggle with woodland," for instance. When someone says, "I struggle with woodland," I would imagine people instantly then watch and go, "Well, I don't want to watch them talk about woodland. They don't know what they're talking about." Whereas if you go out there and even if you feel you struggle with it, say, "I know what I'm doing here." Even if you come back with, not so great images, if you put yourself across as someone who knows exactly what they're talking about, people are more likely to follow you, even if your work isn't as good as maybe someone who comes across as, "I'm not sure what I'm doing."
You have a switch though, gal. You have this switch. You'll go and you're like, "Oh no, I'm not." You'll get, "Oh no, this isn't great," and then you go, "Oh, look at this! It's a banger!" Boom, and there's the picture. There's a switch with you.
I don't recall Gary ever saying that, to be honest.
No, he's not. But you know what I mean. I have seen you do that, where you've gone out and there's a story, but then you produce the goods, and then I'm not saying you're confident, overconfident. That's partly what we're talking about, really, isn't it? An overconfident, an ego. But even with yourself, I don't think you do yourself justice there, because you've put a picture out and you can tell you're proud. It's a good shot. You know it's a good shot when you say it's a good shot. Do you know what I mean?
Probably, because I normally say everything I do is rubbish. So
yeah, but then you will do it, and you'll go, "Yeah, I'm happy," and it's without. There are a lot of people out there though who are hyper confident. The belief is so much in what they've done and their ability that they're selling it to you that you can almost be in a trance thinking, "That's a great picture because he said it's a great picture. He's just told me it's a great picture. That must be a great picture."
It's a bit like the Emperor's clothes.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking that exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to sell yourself and you're trying to promote yourself, then you have to be confident in your work, even if deep down you don't think it's particularly fantastic. Because if you are trying to sell images, or you're trying to sell yourself to do workshops or whatever that may be, that'd be foolish to say, "Oh, I'm not too sure about this." But for the majority of us who just enjoy photography, perhaps for what it is, I think then we can cut ourselves a little bit of slack and say, "I'm not too sure about this particular image at the moment," or "I'm not overly confident with woodland, but I'm trying to improve my woodland photography to use that as an example." I think if you're not trying to sell yourself, you can perhaps be a little bit more honest on camera.
Lovely. Yes, exactly. That honesty, I think, shows in certain photographers. I won't say any names, but even top flight photographers. And there's a certain lady I absolutely adore her photography, and she's very unassuming and very much like there's a joy to her work, and it's not about an ego or shouting from the rooftops. The work does the talking. The photography does the talking.
It's very easy though for the photography to do the talking when all you're doing is photography. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
When you
that's a good
when
point.
you're vlogging at the same time, you can talk down or talk up your work. It's like, I remember Greg Whitten saying that photography is all about the photograph. Nothing else matters. Not anything else matters. And that's really true in photography. Yeah, a bit of Metallica there, Manny. That's really true in photography. The photograph is the only thing that matters. But when you're vlogging, I really think people will have a different perspective on your image depending on how you sell it in the vlog. What do you guys think to that? Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
I disagree.
Do you? Okay.
Yes, I would echo what James said last week about it's about the moment. It's about enjoying where you are, what you're doing, and the photography is ancillary to that.
Ooh.
So that's personal to you, isn't it?
That's a curveball, because I agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's a curveball. That's not quite... how do we... Gary, you...
No, I agree.
explain.
I completely agree that you're doing it for you, and it's about that moment in time, and I get that. That's very true. But when it comes to actually judging the photograph, so if you're talking about just purely, you put up, let's say you took all 6 of us with Jamie here, you put all of our work up and no one knew whose was whose, they would look upon that work. If it's, let's say they'd never met us, they'd never seen us, they haven't seen us taking a photograph, they don't know anything about us, the only thing they would judge it on is the photograph, right? But if you then showed everybody the vlog that was associated with that photograph, people may view that image differently based on the vlog. Say, for instance, that you had a hell of a time getting to somewhere.
Because there's a story about it.
Yeah,
So what David's saying, there's an emotional link to it.
Yeah,
So it has a
yeah.
better meaning, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's more personal to you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and that isn't about the photograph, is it? Really?
I think what Gary's saying is, though, and James, I know you're saying it again, what Darren said from an honest point of view about the story, about the backing behind the picture. I think what Gary's alluding to, and myself, is more about, look at this picture, it's good.
It's like a subliminal, isn't it? It's like you wear confidence and you project that confidence over.
If you keep hitting people at face hard enough with a vlogging camera,
you can hit well.
Telling them
yeah, because if you think about it, if you've got someone who's telling you all the time, this photo's really good, this photo's really good, this photo's really good, and you look at it and go, I can't see it. But then you think, well, is that me? I must be wrong. Because if he's telling me it's really good and everyone else who's believing him is saying that's really good, I must be the one who's incorrect about the quality of that photo.
I've done a picture at Wastwater. It's coming out on my vlog if I get my arse in gear this weekend. And it's 70% foreground and scree and lines leading in, and mountains are in the top third. And I hate it. And then I watched a certain person's vlog the other day, and they put a picture out very similar, but it was lines leading you up, and then the mountains in the top third in the Lake District. And I thought, well, is that a good shot? And then I looked at it and I thought, well, he's put it in his vlog. And this is where it stemmed from. Because I started thinking, I weren't going to put mine in because I don't think it's good enough. The mountains are a bit soft because it was F11. I didn't focus stack. I wanted the detail in the foreground and the rocks and the stone. So I'm putting that picture in. Hopefully when I do it on Sunday, but it, in a way, in an ironic way, someone telling me on another vlog saying this is a good picture, this is why I've put it in, has made me put a mediocre image in my next video. Look out for it, folks.
I'll tell you, can I just ask a question about this? Seriously, because obviously we all vlog, so we have to tell a story whilst we're vlogging. But how many of us, hand on heart, knows that they've got a cracking picture on the back of the camera?
Yeah.
Because very rarely do I, unless it's something incredibly special, like the storm that we had at Arran, because you could really tell that was going to be something there. But apart from that, 9 times out of 10, I really don't know how good that image is going to be until I get it on the big screen. I can look at it and think that looks good on the camera, but when I get it on the screen, is it as good as I remember it? And then sometimes vice versa. So do you know if you've got a good image on the back of the camera?
I think that's where sitting on images works for me. Hence why I don't put them out dead quick. But when on the back of the camera, I don't think you can.
But what's made you take that image in the first place? There must be some sort of attraction there. Surely.
Oh yeah, of course. But when you I don't know, when perhaps I'm looking at a scene, I'm also looking at the bigger picture away from the camera. I think this looks fantastic, and then I'll frame up, and I think, yeah, I really do like this, and in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be a good image. But I don't know about you, but I've got back to the computer and realised it wasn't as good as I remember it.
Yeah, I think that's common, isn't it? I think it's common is that you get back to the computer, it just doesn't look the same, does it?
So that's why I think is it not hard to, when you're vlogging as well, to really big up a picture? Because I always find it's easier to dumb down a picture on a vlog, and if it turns out to be a cracker, then it's a winner. But if you're bigging up a picture on a vlog and it turns out to be a right piece of shit, then where do you go from there?
Yeah, I've done that.
I would say 90% of my images are made on the computer. They become what they are on the computer. Once or twice, so like for instance, honeypot location, lone tree, Lamberis, that one, I looked at it and went, wow, that's just back of the camera, amazing picture, and it was. And funnily enough, that needed the least amount of work out of probably any picture I've ever processed. But usually, especially as well because I do panos, so I can't really tell. You know, I can see a scene in front of me, but I don't very rarely have a complete picture on the back of the camera. It's sort of like 1/5 of that picture. But 90%.
I think that's a really fair point, and you've got to bear in mind that we can all pick out the odd image where we've looked at the camera and thought that's a winner. But when you consider over the period of time how many times we fired the shutter, and you stack it up, you realise what a small percentage that is. But my little technique is to vlog 4 or 5 images and make sure that I've got 3 out of the 5 that I can use, and give yourself some options, because there's nothing worse than getting back with I've got 3 images and 2 of them are crap and I've got to make a vlog out of it. So just get enough in the can to start with.
I've got to approach the same way. I've got to be confident that I've found something decent, and I take a few frames of it, and unless I'm confident that I'm going to be pleased with that photograph, I'll only vlog around that photograph. So it's always the photography first for me.
There's the self-confidence though. There's that self-belief.
Yeah.
That's going to carry you 3/3 of the way, isn't it? That self-belief in that image. So just quickly say, I've got one of those vlogs coming up, probably in 6 weeks' time, where I've done a panel of the whole of Windermere, and I was so excited, and I know it's a pile of shit.
That's the day when I met you. That's the day when I met you, Mal, isn't it?
It is.
And you told me how good it is. You said at the time, that's probably the best shot I've ever taken. No, those are your exact words as well.
I think it was actually the best shot that anybody's ever taken. I think it was his exact words.
Landscape photographer for the year 2021 was it, you said to me.
If you tell everyone, though, that's the best shot that anyone's ever seen, few people might believe it, Manny.
Exactly. That's the point I was making. And that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to do a voiceover going like this. That's the best picture you've ever seen in your life. That is the best picture you've ever seen in your life. That's the best bit. I'm going to put it in the music and everything. I think David did that in his mounting video. There was voices in the background saying, "Oh, look at me, I am the great Welsh photographer. Look at me, I'm awesome."
One frame in 24 was D. Griff knows what he's doing. D. Griff knows what he's doing.
Buy a workshop here. Subliminal advertising.
Leave it every 5 seconds.
But I think realistically, though, we all kind of, we've all been at it a while. None of us has only released 3 vlogs. We've been at it personally while we've seen an awful lot of other vlogs. And I think realistically, we've all got a reasonably good idea of whether we've got a turkey on our hands or a possible half-decent image. And whether or not our personality is such that we go, oh, God, this is terrible, or we go, well, this is a cracking image, you're going to love this one, boys. Because let's be fair, none of us really are likely to say that on camera. But no. I think that over time, we've kind of got to the point where we're at now, where we kind of know what we're dealing with. And we're more hamstrung by conditions, by circumstances, than by the technicalities of taking an image. At the end of the day, if great light presents itself on a great subject, I'd like to think that the five of us, and Jamie, of course, would be able to do a half-decent job of it. Because if we couldn't, we've got no right to be vlogging, even though we're not offering 7 tips to improve your landscape photography. We're still putting ourselves out there. And, you know, we could put images up on Facebook and so forth and leave ourselves open to criticism. But what we do is we do it on YouTube as well. So we've got another channel for people to say, you're rubbish, mate. And exactly. So, you know.
Leaving ourselves open, aren't we, for onslaught?
Yeah.
Yeah, by making comments about people being pretentious, that never helps either. I won't include the last one. I didn't go down very well. So I'm very sorry for saying that, by the way, everyone. I still think it's pretentious, but maybe you weren't not such a
apart from Lizzie Shepherd.
Isn't photography pretentious though? This is the confidence thing again, alluding to the fact about being confident. Photography in itself, art in itself, after many years of trying to be a fine artist and painting abstract pieces from when I was 16 to like 29, 30, it's so pretentious because, especially with abstract art, it's a huge amount of like belief and an amount of expression, and then someone looks at it and goes, that's just some streaks on a piece of canvas, you knobhead. Do you know what I mean? It's like Pete Mondrian or Paul Klee or lots of different artists that I adore and Jean Miro, and it's just some coloured lines on a canvas. Oh yeah.
But we're back to the Emperor's New Clothes, aren't we?
Look at the most expensive photo ever. I don't know whether it still is. A couple of years back, the most expensive photo ever sold was line of grass, line of water,
Microsoft Windows,
line of grass, line of sky.
Windows desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, James, it's an image of the River Rhine.
Yeah, German, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, was it?
And it sold for a ridiculous amount of money, and it's like literally a snapshot, really. But it's all. But I think more when I'm thinking of people exuding confidence, not necessarily so much about the photography really, but a lot of people. So if you're just starting out in photography, for instance, if you watch someone who exudes a lot of confidence and says this is the way it's done and this is the way to do this, you're way more likely to believe them than if you watch someone who says, well, I'm not sure about this. And I know we go on a journey and ours are, great adventures, Dave, and that. I know we go out and take photos and it's all about our day rather than instruction. But when you get people who are sort of they want to present themselves, put themselves across as someone who's knowledgeable and someone who can sell you workshops down the line, if you go out with I know everything and my photos, a great attitude, especially when you get new people watching who don't know much about photography, they're going to look at them and go, that's who I want to teach me, even if the standard of their photography and maybe the technique of their photography isn't up to someone who goes, I know everything, but I'm just not sure about this.
Yeah, but don't you think as well, a lot of people that perhaps want to go on a workshop with someone from YouTube is not always to do with their standard of photography. It's whether they feel I could really bond with that person. I could possibly learn
personality.
I a bit of bedside manner there. Because I think I would rather go out with someone that I know that I'm going to get along with, rather than say a better photographer that comes across as a bit of an arse. No, but do you know what I mean?
I do. Spot on.
This would explain why I don't get any bookings.
Spot on. Yeah.
No, it's also because you're not confident enough in yourself, Gary.
Well, I haven't advertised for any workshops as well.
if you took the confidence away from Andy Warhol, he'd just be Andy War.
He's dead, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but in his time, he was so confident. So confident. It's like Lou Reed. Lou Reed, for me, sorry, any Lou Reed fans out there, I've tried so hard to listen to Lou Reed, and I couldn't get any smack at the time, so I couldn't really evaluate it how he made it. But for me, again, the pretentiousness and the amount of drug taking.
That Velvet Underground.
Reed,
Am I right?
yeah, and it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. Now, Iggy Pop, on the other hand, and the Stooges, that's raw, that's power, that's some music going on right there. That's strip off and let's go and dance, baby.
I'm pretty sure Iggy Pop though doesn't go, oh, I'm not sure about this song.
No, no, and I'm not saying he didn't take drugs neither. He was obviously.
You won't go on a workshop with him, would you?
Oh, what could you? Wouldn't that be good? Oh,
I'll mate.
You know.
Sorry, I'm doing impersonations again here.
Yeah, but what of?
I don't know. Spider-Man.
Wanna be my dog?
Yeah. Talking about that documentary, I'll tell you someone who does not lack confidence. That Bruce Gilden. Has anyone else seen Bruce Gilden, the street photographer?
Which one was that? Is that the third one in?
He's got a camera, right, and he's got a flash.
Oh,
And he literally walks up, he's right in your
Straight.
face like that, bang, takes a shot. Doesn't care if you agree or not, doesn't care. No, there's no sort of subtlety or I'm just going to sit back and take it from afar. He's in your face. He's had fights, he's had people, you know. Good.
Oh, yeah,
That's
smashed him
confidence,
in the
isn't it?
face. I
think that's rude.
He takes pictures of
so do
people
I.
as well who are
I do,
quite-
and I think if he got belted in the mouth, I think fucking good job.
It's psychosis, isn't it?
That's
There's no
rude.
filters, obviously. You don't know what's right and wrong.
I watched a couple of those guys and I thought they were a little bit on the spectrum, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh Jesus! Am I a ZX81?
Rubber keys.
I must be, because I love Bruce Gilden. I love the fact that he's so in it. He's so there. But then look at Bill Cunningham. Anyone know Bill Cunningham? He's not in that docu. They mention him a little bit, but he's very flighty. He's a lovely, floaty, tall guy. Bill
Is
Cunningham.
he a happy man?
He's a lovely, happy guy. He rides around New York on his bike.
Naked.
Do you know? He probably would.
Oh, Dave's getting his car.
But he gets in people's faces. But because Bill Cunningham is such a lovable man, he's such a lovely guy, that it's acceptable. Where Bruce Gilden, he's like, I'm going to take your picture and I don't give a shit what you think. And when you see this, I think life, humans, attitude, behaviour, which leads us nicely into a subject I'd like Darren to just take us on a little journey about graffiti. The graffiti in our world, I think it makes a nice backdrop
It depends
for
where it
photography.
is. Right. So there was there's a building. There was a building in Cambridge. It was a single-story building, and it was probably about 150, 200 foot long, and it was going to be demolished. But just kind of imagine this: it's a huge brick facade, and it almost had windows. There wasn't windows as such, but there was brickwork panels that were slightly recessed, and it almost looked like bricked up windows at some stage. But I don't know who the graffiti artist was, but they was a real artist, and they must have got permission, because it took a long time for them to do this. It wasn't done overnight and then run away, and they created these works of art in these panels. And you would drive along the road, and I say this building was due to be demolished, and I just thought, what a shame to take away that work of art, because it was incredible. So I think graffiti has its place. When you see some little arsehole with a spray can putting his initials on a fence, then for me that's just vandalism.
Or a big picture of a knob.
Knobs are forgiven because they're quite funny.
You're funny, aren't they?
With jizz or without jizz?
I think without. That's a bit.
Leaves
coarse, isn't
something
it,
to the
really?
imagination.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
carry on,
crude,
Darren.
isn't it?
No, so I do think that I am a fan of art, but I'm not a fan of graffiti. I'm not a fan. Look, I showed you a picture the other day at Hodge Close.
Yeah, what's on that? But yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got
This is
these
vandalism.
beautiful rocks, this amazing landscape, and someone's got a spray can and sprayed all over the rocks.
I think what you're describing there, Darren. I think it's a wall mural, isn't it? It's like, how do you define graffiti? To me, that's not graffiti.
No.
It's a piece of allowed art in the right context.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Graffiti.
perhaps I'm saying I'm a fan of art more than graffiti. Then.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose
certainly.
I'm thinking it's because it's done with a spray can and it's done outside. You know, I suppose I'm just thinking along them lines. But it was, James. It was a work of art. Beautiful. This was.
See, I'm a believer of
Freedom,
don't-
man, freedom.
No, well, no.
Kiss
I
the
agree
can.
with what you're saying, Darren, totally. And I watched Equalizer 2 last night. Have you ever seen that?
Was it Edward Woodward?
No, it's
Denzel
not Edward
Washington,
Woodward.
is it him?
It's Denzel Washington now, who's playing the part of Edward Woodward, who was good as Edward Woodward in The Equalizer.
Ed Three Trees, isn't
but-
he? Ed Three Trees.
Yeah, Ed Three, yeah, that's the one. He would.
Uh-huh.
But Denzel, he's in this community, you know, of young gangsters, and this young lad wants to be an artist. And at the end of the film, it's dead cheesy. The end of the film, they keep tagging and spray painting and destroying this woman's little garden. Anyway, they fix the garden up, and at the end of the film, he's done all these images back in the Italian landscapes. You know, he got and it's beautiful. It's still graffiti because it's on a building. And I really like the idea that we can turn something bad good. So, you know, the Hodge Close thing? It would be interesting to try and get some, like, funding to create an area in the Hodge Close that could represent...
You mean that place of outstanding beauty, which doesn't
Yeah.
need graffiti?
It doesn't need graffiti, no. Correct.
Whereas if you're looking at the
Well,
underground
could
of
you
Bronx,
imagine...
if you're looking at Bronx, that
Hold on.
needs some...
There's many a public piece of art in many a place, even in the Lake District, there's public pieces of art. I think that it could be interesting to investigate and come up with the idea of producing a piece of public art in such a place like that, and to get people involved, to even get the, what did he call him? The Shizer, the knobhead or whatever. Even to find people who would want to express themselves in that place. It doesn't have to be a permanent structure or a permanent thing. I just quite like the idea of someone does something wrong, which is natural, we all have, and to turn that into something positive. And I think that's what art can do. And graffiti is a way of connecting those dots and lines together. I know it's awful, but it's also, we all make mistakes. And then to see the other side where we can bring people into probably a way of being creative they wouldn't have considered or done.
I think they should brick up Cathedral Cavern and just get someone to spray knobs all over the brickwork. That'd be brilliant. Brick a few vloggers in.
Vlog yourself out of there.
Maybe get everybody who's ever taken a photo of Cathedral Cavern to write their signature on the brickwork.
Oh, that would be amazing.
There you go.
That would be
Proud
amazing.
piece of art.
No, I don't agree with you,
Finishing
Madigo,
touch.
about... I think there's a place for graffiti in the urban environment. Like, you look at the northern quarter in Manchester, some of the graffiti there is amazing. And I'm sure not all of that is legal graffiti, and it is absolutely amazing, but it's kind of known for graffiti, so fair enough. But I don't think, going off and saying, right, take some area in Snowdonia or the Lake District and just use that wall there for graffiti. It just wouldn't work, would it? It's just not
Totally agree.
doesn't fit
That's
in.
That's what would make it work, though, as public art. That's what would make it work as public art, because it's unusual.
No, I mean, like where I live, right, it's not like the Lake District or anything like that, but there's a road not far from me, and it's someone's garden, but their garden runs kind of parallel with a road, and they've got this beautiful old wall, and someone's graffitied all over the wall. And I just think, where's the respect? That is somebody's property, and we're not just talking about a common brick here. We're talking about a really nice piece of stonework. And I'm guessing that's someone who's like 14, 15 years old. But if it's anyone older than about 18, then they need locking up. Because to me, that's vandalism. I don't go. I enjoy art, but I don't go down. I don't agree with you, Mally, when it comes to that.
Oh, I never said that was right. I'm not saying it's right to do that. Let's get something straight here. I'm not saying that that's good. I'm completely with you. It's vandalism. I think there's a misunderstanding.
So what's acceptable then to you, Mally?
Nothing's acceptable, but at the end of the day, we're all going to burn and die, and there's going to be a load of shit left that's like going to end up covered in sand, dust and sea. What does it matter? At the moment, the only problem we have with this is us, humans. Opinion, people's opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is,
someone sprayed on Mrs. McDonald's wall and she's frightened inside. That's very important. And that shouldn't be happening. But where I'm coming from,
we've just spent half an hour talking about
what are we gonna do?
Standards in photography, and the same applies to graffiti. As Darren pointed out, there's some graffiti that is, but I think. The thing about it is, there are certain graffiti artists who understand and know what's acceptable, what works in terms of a public piece of art and what doesn't. And, of course, everybody immediately points at the likes of Banksy, but there are countless others as well. So, if you look around the East End of London, some of the work of people like Sick Boy, and the whole collective that sort of gathered around Banksy in the early 2000s, in an urban environment, it makes a statement. It's brightening up usually derelict old industrial buildings. So, but when somebody's got a nice gable end on a domestic property, and some 14-year-old does some gormless piece of vandalism, there's a big difference.
Someone might say what Banksy's done is gormless piece of vandalism. It's only human choice what is acceptable.
But
it's only what you consider acceptable.
Building,
it's only what you consider acceptable.
I think that's. Well, yeah, but it's not acceptable if it's somebody's property. They don't give permission.
But of course, and I never once said that I thought that was right. I completely agree with that.
The thing is, if Banksy comes along and produces an artwork, because what he doesn't do is just tag things. He produces social commentary, very sophisticated social commentary. But in the event he came along and did that on your piece of property, like the garage in Port Talbot, that made the owner of the garage about £250,000.
Yeah, it's like he was really pissed off, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
was really angry.
So the thing is, though, that obviously, if it's not Banksy, it's less likely to sell for that sort of money. So
it'd be interesting though if someone came and graffitied that guy's garage door. The garage door, was it?
It was the back and side.
Okay, so say they graffitied that to the same standard of art as Banksy, but wasn't Banksy. Would he be pissed off then because he couldn't sell it? Do you see what I mean? Would it then become graffiti, or would it still be art?
He would just claim it was a Banksy and flog it for the same amount.
But even if, let's say it was clearly not a Banksy, but it was a beautiful piece of work. Did you see what I mean?
Yeah, you make a good point.
Back to the confidence again, and about who you are as an individual. It's not okay for a 14-year-old to do something, which I totally agree. We shouldn't have like violence. We shouldn't have death caused by idiots, and we shouldn't have like this society we live in that people are frightened. That's the thing for me. I don't like the idea of people being frightened. I think that's horrendous, to not be able to go home and feel comfortable in your own home because someone spray painted a big dick on the side of your house or your wall. It's completely wrong. The point I'm making is, and not very well probably, is that I don't think the balance is right. I don't think the choices are right. I think we decide what's right and what's wrong quite easily. again, the vlogging thing about I say my work is exceptional. It might be you've gone and took a picture somewhere. Okay, it's not a permanent destruction, vandalism, which is of Hodge Close, which is completely unacceptable and disgraceful behaviour. But I'd like to always think of a positive thing from it is where an art installation or something that is of value. How can we?
But you're comparing apples and oranges, though. Surely, because of course you are. Because a graffiti artist, by definition, is completely anonymous. So he's saying nothing about his work. He's producing it and then walking away.
No, there's maybe a few that are anonymous. Quite a lot of New York graffiti artists tagged quite obviously who they were. And you knew exactly who they were.
They weren't producing work; they were just putting their name.
Yeah, but it's a gang relations.
But they turned into
our turf.
But they turned into names. They turned into artists, and they sold.
Who do you have in mind? Who do you have in mind out of interest?
I don't know. The guy
Spit
who did
roast.
the tiles. Superman, is it?
Spit roast?
Never heard of him. Spit it up. Have you not heard of him? Spit roast.
Anyway,
with the kids.
All I was trying to... Do you like Mary's Shell? Do we like Mary's Shell?
No, not for me.
Right.
It's a nice piece of art.
It's been over
nice piece of art?
Yeah, right. I think so. I think it's
some people might say it's a blight on the landscape. Again, it's about opinion. And I understand that graffiti is wrong. What I'm just trying to illuminate is the idea that it is down to opinion. It's interesting. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's
I think
fantastic.
Secretly, you're an anarchist, Molly.
I think
you don't like law and order.
I don't. I especially don't being lied to by people who are in power because they've got power and they can lie to us. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being frightened. I don't like neighbours being frightened. I don't like people being accused of things they've not done. I don't like society very much. I think the world we live in is so complex, and it isn't that simple as.
All right. So do you want me to talk about this COVID test for the Pubcast?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Well, because obviously I had to have this op. The deal was that I had to have a COVID test. Now I have got the world's worst gag reflex. Even when I go to the dentist, even for a checkup, I have to book an afternoon off of work, and I have to take like tablets to kind of calm me down. So they said I had to have this COVID test. So when the hospital rang me and said, we want to book you in for the Monday, I was almost pleading on the phone, do I really need to have this test done? Yes, you do. Right, I knew the answer anyway. So I took 10 milligrams of diazepam or whatever the drug was that I got from the doctors, and I'm so embarrassed because I pulled up, or Helen drove, and I was in the passenger seat. And you just drive into the car park and there's like a little tent, and this one nurse came out with a clipboard. Oh, Darren Knight, yeah, no problem. Asked me a few questions. My colleague will be over in a second. As soon as the other nurse started walking towards the car, I started gagging. I'm already gagging because of the thought of it. Oof. So I'm a 52-year-old, 15-stone bloke. I've got Helen rubbing my shoulder like a fat toddler. Me, not her. And then she's standing there by the window, and literally I was saying, just give us just two seconds, and then yeah, it's do you know what? It's even making me gag thinking about it. But
right
yeah,
at the
goes
back.
It's in your tonsils, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on, Darren. Show us what it.
So.
Show us what they did.
Don't do that, Molly.
Sorry.
So yeah, so it goes.
You're not getting much sympathy, mate.
I just want to say sorry to any fat toddlers watching. I
was referring to myself by being a big fat baby. That was what I was alluding to.
Did you have to explain it to the nurse though?
Yeah, I did.
She's probably thinking, I'm walking up to this car and this guy is gagging at me.
I did. I had to explain. And she said, she was really sweet. That's all right, darling. She said, take your time. But, do you know, they actually warned me about the nostril one. Oh. That was, I found that was easy. It was because they put it obviously down the throat. Then I think they use the same swab then.
They do.
For your nostril. But the thing is, when they put it up, you can slowly kind of back away, but with the throat, you kind of can't. So yeah, I had it done, and to be honest with you, if I'm totally honest with you, it isn't as bad as I'm making out. It's because I've got the gag reflex. If it wasn't for my gag reflex, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, don't worry about it." But yeah, it wasn't good for me. But I had it done, and I was all negative, so we're all right.
That wasn't the antibody test, was it? Though that was
that was just to see if I had
if
it.
you had it. It's fine.
Yeah,
So as soon as I come out of quarantine, the day after my op, a couple of days after my op, I could have caught it. So
Yeah.
I think you're better off to have the antibody test if you're going to have it. But I don't want that either.
I don't know what that involves. That's just a pinprick, isn't it? That's your blood, isn't it? The antibody one.
I don't know. But I tell you, we were talking about checking prostates earlier on in the Pubcast. If I could have had the choice, one or the other, I would have let them go wrist deep. Oh, that's the truth.
So you'd rather have it up the arse than down the throat.
Watch as well. They could have left their Rolex up there. If I had the choice, yeah,
Piece
definitely.
of oak, a bit of oak tree.
Oh, that's a lovely bit of conversation.
Anyway, let's move on from my COVID and my anus. What are you doing, Jay?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, chaps. Got a bit held up in traffic on the way to the pub, literally.
You haven't missed anything.
No,
really.
You've probably been talking about me the whole time.
Yeah, we've been killing time till you got here, mate.
Yeah,
Been whistling.
I'm sure.
What? Tell us about your head, Jamie.
Yeah,
where's the bandage, Jim?
I know it's come off. Yeah, I didn't like the look of that bandage. It made me look a
Terry
bit of a
Butcher.
criminal. Terry Butcher. Yeah, no, it's healing nicely, thanks, chaps. Yeah, I had a bit of a fight with a tree in the garden, and the tree won. Wasn't very good. Wasn't very nice at all. But now it's...
I thought you were trying to rip off my look.
Yeah, with your bandanas. Yeah.
Oh, it's in the garden. I thought you'd gone out somewhere, sort of exotic on a vlog.
No, it
So
was.
you knew it was there then? I just walked into it.
Well, it wasn't as big as it was the last time I was in the garden, because we've had a bit of work done in the garden. And they've trimmed some of the branches off. So it was a sawn off branch that was hidden behind a few leaves of the tree, and I tried to get round the garden corner quite quickly and forgot the branch was there and literally just went straight into it. And it really did clobber my head. I did think I was going to end up in A&E, but I'm a bloke, and I just sod it, and I'll just go through it, and I'm fine now.
Soldiered on.
Yeah,
Brown
yeah.
paper and vinegar.
Well, that's less about your youth condoms, Mally.
Wire brush and Dettol.
Yeah, wire brushing Dettol. Billy,
Yeah,
come
but thanks
on.
for asking,
Really
chaps.
clever,
I'm all good, thank you.
Oh, good.
Good.
You're looking well. I like the top.
You like the top, do you?
I like the top, yeah.
Yeah, it's got leaves on it, I think.
He's the
Yeah.
coolest, isn't he?
He is. It's always the quiet ones you have to watch out for,
Yeah,
Yeah.
smooth criminal. Dim, 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 dim.
So now we've got Jamie here. We can dive into another topic. What about talking about what is it called? GAS, isn't it? Gear acquisition syndrome.
Yes.
Do you need new gear, or is it just a want? Far away. Who wants to have that one?
Jamie, go for it.
Well, it's the shiny piece, isn't it? Really, it's that. It's the magpie syndrome. It's sitting there and it's shining, and you think, oh, but it does so much more than the one I've got now, and wouldn't it be fantastic to own it? But deep down, it really doesn't, does it? Really, it's got a few more bells and whistles, and it costs an extra $2,000. But do you really need it? Probably not. Probably not, if I'm honest.
Has anybody
That's that done then. Next subject.
Has anybody gone out and actually purchased like a bleeding edge piece of camera equipment? Or because if ever I'm looking at something, like especially bodies, I normally go the one prior to the latest one out, because they're usually not that much further behind the new ones, and they're much cheaper. Has anyone actually gone out and went, right, I want, this is the very latest thing, I want it, I'm going to take it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I got a message today from, I won't mention the name, but a guy that we all know, and he's possibly thinking about moving over to Sony, and he was talking about the Sony A7R4 and asked me, like, you know, what I think of Sony, and I actually said that the Sony the A4 wasn't out at the time, and I got the A3, but I don't know if I'd want to go to the A4. I mean, do we need 60 megapixels as standard? That's why I was saying to him, you know, do you really want to go to the 4? You might as well go to the 3. But I mean, do we need it?
It's not just that, is it? It's the hardware you need to accompany with it. You need a better PC,
exactly,
60,
memory drive.
I've been doing a lot of extensive research lately on Sony because I've just switched from Canon to Sony, and I looked at the A7R3 and I looked at the A7R4.
What's going on with people?
And
Down.
I looked at them and I just thought the file sizes. Imagine I shoot a lot of panos. Imagine the stress I would put my computer under with an A7R4 and 5 images stitched together. I can't see how it would handle it.
You need to upgrade your equipment. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
And there we have the capitalism, the perpetuation of buying and getting and.
I can see the point of 60 megapixels or even 42 megapixels on the A7R3 if you heavily crop a lot, or like perfect for you with your birding because Darren, because if you can put it on APS-C mode, can't you? The Sony, you can switch, and that's 24 megapixels on APS-C mode.
No, it's 18.
Is it? Oh, 18. Okay,
yeah, 18.
But cheaper for hire an owl.
Yeah. But
the
A7 III, if I shoot that on APS-C mode, that's like 10 megapixels. So I can see the point.
Oh, you done me.
Done myself. I don't know where that came from.
Like the Canon. What about the Canon? The new Canons. What do we think?
Oh, I fancy one of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
you've got one in order, haven't you?
So why have you gone over? Why, James? You're a perfect example. Why have you switched?
I want to move along with the times, and I think the whole reason, one of the big reasons why we want to improve or upgrade, shall we say, is to make life easier for ourselves in a way.
What's it going to give you? The new camera. What's it going to give you that your old one?
Well, I'm thinking about using it for video as well as stills as well. So you've got your in-body stabilization. It's mirrorless. It's slightly lighter. It's less bulky. It's got a new flash processors as well. So you've got to bear in mind that I'm using a 2012 5D Mark III. So better files, flippy screen, and it might seem complacent, but flippy screen. And I just want to move along with the times, I say.
I think one thing I would struggle with now by going back to a DSLR, now I've had my Sony for over a year now, is all the information that you can get in the EVF.
Yeah,
that's great. That is.
Yeah.
You know, that's if I went back to a DSLR, I would really miss that.
And the fact that it gives you an accurate representation of the shot you're going to take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas if you're using a mirrored camera, all you can see is that reflection of the mirror out to the world. But if you're looking through the viewpiece of a mirrorless with the EVF, you turn your exposure dial or whatever, you move that, and it reflects on the camera exactly what you're going to get. So that's got to be a plus, I would have thought.
Also, as well, I've recently got rid of all my filters, so I'm no longer using filters. So I'm looking at improved dynamic range as well. Yeah. I've got a chance in life to upgrade my camera, so that's what I'm going to do. Take advantage of it.
I think that, but the thing is, James, you make a really good point though, that you're upgrading to the latest version, but you're 8 years behind the curve. You know, an awful lot of people are upgrading because, there's a new one out. I mean, we all know of people who are going, there's a new one out. I've only had this one 9 months. I've had this Fuji X-T3 for 9 months, but there's an X-T4. I must have that. And I find that kind of laughable. But I think when you're in your own personal cycle of upgrading and renewals, 8 years, I think is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think
it's
that's
like your
justified.
It's like your mobile phone contracts.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, mobile phones are less lifespan, I suppose. I mean, contracts are what, 2 or 3 years, aren't they? So yeah.
I'm staggered though. I'm staggered that they haven't. Well, not that I know of. They haven't put built-in. I was going to say obsolescence. Built-in.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised they haven't put built-in obsolescence into cameras. Not that I've seen. You look at a phone. You know, they're programmed. They're programmed to fail after a certain amount of time. So
yeah, but Gary, the difference with phones is you by and large you pay for them monthly. With a camera, you've got to write out a check for your kid's inheritance. So you need to get some payback on that kind of outlay.
But even printers and things like that, have built-in obsolescence, don't they? Where after a certain amount of time the chip fires and down the tubes it goes. So is that coming? Do you reckon? Is that just a matter of time before that comes to cameras? I don't know.
I love all gear. I mentioned earlier about the ZX81.
You still got that? You still got a ZX81?
I have.
Pac-Man.
He'd only have been about 3 years old when that came out.
So, yeah.
Thanks, David.
I had one of those and I was well mature at the time.
But now the nostalgia, so this going back to the idea of taking a picture and it freezes time. Gear's the same. Don't sell your gear, keep your gear, upgrade, but keep your gear. And then
a lot of people need to trade it in to finance the next purchase.
Yeah. That's how they have you. That's how they have you, though, isn't it? That's how it is.
And let's be honest, a lot of camera gear holds its value, doesn't it? You
lenses,
yeah.
Yeah. I probably will flog my 5D
16 to 35. 16 to 35. How old's that lens now? 8, 9 years old. There's no new 16 to 35, is there? On Canon and Nikon. I think it's quite an old lens, that now.
I had every intention of keeping hold of my 5D Mark III until I realised even with it being dropped in water, dropped everywhere, that I could still get 600 quid for it. I mean, unbelievable. 8-year-old tech. And you can still get, how much would it have been new? 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
So a quarter of the value.
The thing is, though, Gary, sure as eggs is eggs, they'll punt it on for $8.50.
Yeah, of course, but that's just life, isn't it? You got to accept that.
They'll give you a fair price for it, won't they?
Yeah.
What's the shuttle count? Do you know? Did you know?
I don't. I didn't measure it. I know it was quite low when I got it. It was sort of.
Oh, did you buy it second hand?
I bought it second hand from the same company I sold it off to.
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't much, although I did get a dodgy battery with it, so I had to buy a proper Canon battery. But yeah,
I must admit, I mean, I can't really comment on photography gear because I'm rubbish at buying it. I don't really buy much. But the only thing I did buy went obsolete 12 months later. But going back, we were talking about whether you buy the latest version of whatever's going. Back in the day, I spent a few pennies on a sports car. But I waited because I knew there was a new version coming out. And when the new version came out, the previous version was suddenly, the price of it fell off a cliff. So I snapped one up for a bargain price because there was nothing to choose between them, really. And I think if you do that with camera gear, you can do quite nicely out of it.
I'll be honest, I was begging Sony to bring out the A7 IV. But they didn't. They brought out the A7S III, and I was thinking, "God, please bring it out." Yeah. And then that'll drop the price of the A7 III, but they never did. So, unfortunately.
Well, I think by bringing out the R5, R6 has perhaps drops the value of the 5D Mark III now as well, possibly.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine the EOS R and the EOS RP will drop considerably.
Yeah.
So, James, will you be buying a big cooling fan to go with your?
No, that's for the R5.
Camera?
That's for the R5, the 8K. Yes, mine's the R6, so hopefully I won't need one. Touch wood.
It does look impressive, I've got to say. I mean, if you had all the money, you the R5, what a camera. What a camera, just for the 8K video. Unbelievable. Not that you can watch it on anything.
Exactly. It's just not practical. And what did you say, Gary? 700 mega. What did you say? £700 for a 1 terabyte memory card.
You need a 1 terabyte memory card to record. I think it's 20 or 30 minutes of full 10-bit raw, 8K, and a 1 terabyte memory card costs 700 quid. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
I always remember PCs 256 megabytes of memory.
Yeah.
And then they were 500, and then they were a gigabyte. Now the 25 gig, then you got 500 gig, then you've got, and
I remember having an Amiga, Commodore Amiga, and getting a 1.5 meg chip in it to make it run fast. You go, wow, it's amazing now.
Commodore 64 did the same.
Didn't What's Up Boy just put out a video recorded on one of those R5 jobbies?
he did.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's people like that, money
Put
no
you off.
object, sponsorships and all that flim flam is what it's aimed at, because
Wasn't his
Joe
though.
Average in
He
a
had to
million
give it-
years.
He's had to give it back, hasn't he?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, it
But-
wasn't. It
but
was
the
just a
thing
sam-
is,
a
though-
sample that he got given.
But the thing is, though, the interesting thing I find is that your Canon and Nikon, and maybe Canon at the moment, they're closing the gap on such engines and such equipment like Red or high-spec video film producing cameras. So it's quite interesting, although it's ridiculous. We're actually getting high-quality tech now. It's flooding down into the mainstream. And I think we're in
Well, the hybrid
exciting
market,
times.
you mean?
We're in exciting times where the level of quality is in the hands of the individual to go out
at your phone.
and
Look at your
create.
phone.
Yeah, 4K on your phone.
The same as the editing suites. Look at what you can do in After Effects, for instance. Now that you can produce better quality special effects than they probably could for Jurassic Park when it was first made.
The first one.
Yeah, and you could do it yourself. You know, crazy, absolutely crazy.
It's an expensive hobby, photography, isn't it? When you think
Yeah.
it really is. The amount of money we spend on gear, you know, what you're talking about, 2, 3, 4 grand for a camera, probably the same again for a suite of lenses, you know, and then tripods, and then if you've got vlogging, then you've got your gimbals and your drones and everything else. It's bloody expensive.
Another set of cameras and lenses for the vlogging.
Yeah, but Jamie, I mean, there are plenty of hobbies that are way more expensive that are pretty common, like yachting.
Snowboarding.
Yachts are
and
expensive.
back in the day when I had a fancy sports car, Christ, the cameras I could have bought for the price of that thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but
Do we
it
go-
doesn't
do we
make it
go
right
back?
when you got to fork it out of your bank account, though, does it really?
But you're right though. It is still expensive. You know, when you look at a decent full frame camera, and then you want a few lenses to go with it. And as you say, it doesn't stop there. Then you're thinking, oh, that's all right. But if, memory cards, tripod. You know, and before you know where you are, you can spend whatever you want to spend, can't you?
Exactly.
Really on photography.
It's all
you know.
proportional, isn't it? You can still get some decent gear second hand.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
He's gone.
Sorry, where is it? Where is he gone? Where is it?
It's been going this way for about 5 minutes,
Go
I
on.
think.
What?
Where?
What do you mean? Where
He
we're
does
going now?
know, He does.
Where are we going, Mally?
Go on,
I
James.
love. Well, all my gear's second hand, and I pointed this out about, if you're buying brand new, you can always buy second hand and get professional glass for the price you're paying for brand new stuff.
I've bought second hand gear.
Me
Do
too.
you? Good man, good guys. I love it because you know what? Do you know what it is about buying second hand gear? What I
I've
really
never
like.
bought second hand. Do you know what? I've never bought second hand.
Have you not?
Never. No.
No.
But I refuse to buy a brand new car. Always get second hand cars.
Yeah. Me too.
That's strange, isn't it? Is there an
My
explanation?
5D3 was second hand. My 70 to 200 was second hand.
Yeah.
Loads
My
of bits.
A7R3 was second hand.
Yeah.
My 100 to
You see,
400 was
you're missing out on
second-hand.
that new lens smell.
Yeah, you are. It's like the new leather smell in a car, I suppose, isn't it?
There's plenty of other smells out there, David. If you could smell me now, darling.
I think it depends on who you
High
buy
karate.
it from and if you trust. You're showing your age now, sausage. Like karate.
Old Spice.
No, but I think it depends where you buy your second-hand equipment from and if you trust that retailer. I'm not trying to promote Wex, but I've bought some fantastic stuff from Wex that are second-hand.
There's not much discount, though, is there? There's not much difference. I mean, you compare it to eBay, and that's more of a risk from eBay, but... Am I
Next,
wrong?
Yeah, see, I don't trust eBay. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but for me, I know that I can take something back to Wex, physically speak to a human over a counter and explain what's wrong. I'm always a bit dubious about shopping online.
What about these companies who are set up abroad and you buy, because you can buy new gear from there cheaper or at the same price as you can buy second-hand gear from Wex or MPB? Yeah.
I wouldn't trust it.
Well,
No.
okay, so I've bought from Panama's before. They give you a 3-year UK warranty, and I've never. I bought.
Have you read the warranty, Gary?
I bought.
I
I bought a brand new 70 to 200 F4IS from there, and it had a focusing issue, and I had it for about 2 months before because I hardly used it, and I took it on holiday, and I first noticed it when I was in Snowdonia, and then I took it on holiday, and I really noticed, I was like, there's definitely an issue with this lens. And I sent them an email and said, look, I've got a problem with this lens. They said, send it back. They sent it back. I said, do you want a replacement? I said, no, actually, I'll just have my money back because I bought a non-IS version secondhand. And they just gave me the money back, no problem. So, and this new camera I'm buying from E-Infinity, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper to buy a new A7 III from there than it is to buy a second-hand A7 III from Wex or MPB. And they give you a 1-year warranty, which isn't as much, obviously. But
was that in Part X with yours though?
No, I
separate altogether. Right.
Separate, yeah, because MPB only do second-hand gear. So I just sold to MPB and then just used the money to buy a new one from E-Infinity.
I think the thing is, though, there are a number of grey import companies that people know of, like those ones that you've just mentioned, Gary, that you do feel that you can rely on them reasonably well. And, that if you Google it, you'll find some that you think, no, I'm not taking a chance on that because, super camera hot. .co.uk is probably not going to be that cool, but grey import per se isn't necessarily a particularly a problem. I mean, going back to the sports car analogy, back in the day, I knew plenty of people that had grey import sports cars that they'd spent tuppence halfpenny on, and I used to be pig sick because I paid full UK dealer prices. But if you were in the know and you knew which grey imports you could trust, why not? Because it's a really good deal.
Exactly.
You've opened my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I've
never considered it.
Yeah, I researched these thoroughly. Someone recommended them to me, and I researched them thoroughly before I even thought about purchasing from them. And I haven't seen. Well, I've seen one negative in about 100 different reviews, and that's not on Trustpilot and that. That's on camera forums where people have said, and that's where you get the truth. Where people say, what do you think about this? And it's all positive. So I was like, well, why not? I get a year's warranty with it. Why not? And
how much are you saving, Gal?
What, from new?
Yeah.
About 500 quid.
That's a big saving, isn't it?
Yeah. It's about 500 quid.
It's a lens.
What's the catch then?
Second-hand lens.
Why are more people doing it then? If you can get that much of a saving,
I have no idea. Well, the grey imports. So if you go to Sony UK and say this has got a problem, they'll say it's a grey import. We're not interested.
Will it affect your trading price?
Quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. But I'm more worried about using the camera. It's like I look at it and say, well, if I use this camera for the next 5 years, it's costing me way less than I would if I was renting one out, for instance, for that. And then if it packs up after that, or if I can't sell it for as much, then I've had my usage out of it.
Yeah, but realistically, 5 years down the road, the grey import status is irrelevant by then.
Yeah,
it'll make no difference. Give it a couple of years, and nobody give a hoot where you got it from.
No, exactly. So
they're giving you 1 year warranty, Gary. So.
Yeah, 1 year warranty. They've got a UK repairs place up in somewhere in Glasgow that do all of it if there are any issues. And for someone for cameras is one thing, fair enough. People might look and go, great import camera, but the prices on their lenses, you're paying the same new for these things as you would pay from a reputable second-hand place. I think
some of these grey import companies are getting to the point where they see themselves as making a dent in the mainstream, and so reputation then becomes really important. And you know, if there is such a thing, a leading grey import company,
Trust.
Exactly, Mally.
There's competition.
Yeah,
So you need
and
to,
so it's like MPB or MBP. I can never remember which way round that one is.
MPB.
It definitely starts with an M.
Yeah.
But their whole thing completely relies on the fact that they're reliable. And the first time someone says, "Oh yeah, well it was described as excellent and it bloody wasn't," you know, photographers talk to each other, and they'll be shot down in flames in no time. And I think what's happening is there are one or two half decent, like E-Infinity, grey import companies who are catching on to that. It's a really good market. We've tapped into it. Reputation is important. We need a UK service centre. And really, the only downside is that, you know, am I really buying from the right sort of people? Once you get over that, you get a 500 quid good deal.
Hey, good upside for us, though. It's competition, isn't it? So
Exactly.
These people who are big companies, big names, are going to have to start dropping the profits, and then they're going to cry, aren't they? You know, we need these profits. But let's face it, they're making hand over fist profits for a very, very long time, and it's about time they gave it back to the consumer and still make a profit. I don't deny that people and companies and businesses need to exist and make a profit, but we're back to capitalism again.
Yeah, I'm going to say, surely they've all brought it back to the consumer, haven't they, by producing good quality?
Capitalism has to be continuously growing. We have to continuously to make more all the time.
And that's from the words of a socialist.
Am I? I don't really know what I am. Oh, I don't even care about anything political anymore. They're all a bunch of lying bastards.
Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching this week. I think we'll call it time there. We've been rambling on for way too long. Hope you guys have enjoyed this week's podcast, and no doubt. Oh, by the way, actually, I wanted to say something before we go. I know it's carrying on a bit more. Nick Livesey's gone pro. Nick Livesey's gone pro. We should mention his website and his new
Snowdonia Adventures.
Isn't it Undiscovered?
Private, Undiscovered, yes. Let's get it right.
Should we just put a link down below?
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
If you're gonna go to Snowdonia and you want to be guided by anyone other than Dave, then Nick's your man. So we'll put a link. We'll put a link in the description below. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Nick,
See ya.
See there.